अब last but definitely not least. Definitely not least, because this is the culmination of the auntie, na, basically. This is where all the aunties get together. It's like the Power Rangers thing, na? They all get together in one big one. The Sasuma. The Sasuma girl.
I'm still picturing that, with the Power Rangers, they used to have that sequence where, like, there used to be a proper sequence, na, कि वो एक
Yeah.
unit becoming transforming and coming
Yeah.
together. So
Yeah.
how the wedding auntie, then the
Yeah.
funeral auntie,
The
then the
Rishta
aunties of the ball,
auntie, the
the
pool
kitty party.
auntie, they
हाँ,
all get
they
together to
all kind of, they're doing this movement. उनकी अपनी machine है, अपने weapons हैं, और आके सासुमा.
Sasuma ban jati hain wo आगे. The Sasuma is the culmination of all things auntie, all concept of auntie वाकई
And I feel like हमारे culture में, ठीक है, at least in the arts, and I'm talking especially in television, Sasuma is it's a landmark. It's a very signature element. It's like obviously सारे cultures में the mother-in-law is a thing, right? It's a very weird relationship, right? Because it's your a mother is a very important thing, and then it's become a mother-in-law. But you have it's a very strange thing. Now all of a sudden this person is your mother.
but only in law. But obviously we're talking about mother-in-law for the bride. The groom's mother-in-law, whatever. But this is the bride's mother-in-law.
Because it's more of a power dynamic here, no? That's why.
Yes, कि मेरा बेटा अब किसी और लड़की की बातें सुनेगा. मैं बताती हूँ जरा इसको.
तो हमारे culture में सासुमा is it's a lot of baggage with that word also, ठीक है?
Yes.
और अच्छी सासें भी होती हैं, obviously.
But
होती हैं कि
most
नहीं?
सासें जो हैं वो बदला ले रही होती है. क्योंकि वो अपनी
क्योंकि
सास से
सास
नहीं
भी
रह
कभी
सकती.
बहू थी. सास भी
क्योंकि
कभी
सास
बहू
भी
थी.
कभी बहू थी. Yes.
Most सासें, and also I mean I feel like you can maybe elaborate more on this, but like most सासें feel कि चाहे वो जितनी भी बुरी हो, वो फिर भी बेहतर है क्योंकि उनकी सास इससे भी बुरी थी.
उनकी सास. But this is true. This is true. And the thing is, वो culture पूरी generation change हो चुकी होती है. But the सासू माँ, and this is obviously very sad, but a lot of them have been through their fair share. तो वो अपनी तरफ से अच्छी हो रही होती हैं. But there is a problem. There is a huge
I mean,
problem.
I can understand it because I feel like it's a very understandable thing. Out of all of these things, there's a lot of emotional logic behind all of this. Because हमारे culture में खास तौर पे, we're talking of specifically सास और बहू का relationship, right? तो लड़का पैदा करना is an accomplishment. पहले तो for a woman it's an accomplishment to bear boys, right, male children, and then so that there's a lot of it's like I mean हम बात करें उन aunties की खासतौर पे मतलब stereotyping here, but we're talking about specifically about women who life revolves around their household, and like whose accomplishments are based around their household, like they don't have accomplishments outside of it either, ठीक है? तो वो उन्होंने बच्चा बड़ा मतलब उनके सारे hopes and dreams उनकी investment है ना वो that boy, that's their investment also. तो और वो हमारे यहाँ लड़के भी मतलब जितना हम उनको मतलब like masculine बनाने की कोशिश करते हैं, I feel like boys in our culture really lack backbone. I've noticed this because they're not able to stand up for things that are right. They can follow the stream and they can go with the grain, but they can't like, and especially true with their relationship with their mother, because every Pakistani boy is the mama's boy, girl. It's the truth.
Girl.
Every
Trust.
Pakistan. I mean, I would say it's the truth for gay boys especially, but the dynamics are different with gay boys. But like with straight boys, so they're still mama's boys. So all of a sudden, Kamalika this bitch who like आप मतलब आपने खुद भी शायद चूज किया ना, पहले तो बस इससे साल उसकी हर चीज अच्छी लग रही होगी, ठीक है? जिससे अगर चूज किया तो ये तो बड़ी अच्छी है, लेकिन there comes this point where all of a sudden you notice that the dynamics have changed. And you can't, at this point, this is the only point where the aunties find it difficult to roll with the punches.
Also, it's weird because a lot of times there is a thing which a lot of women say कि जब दुल्हन आएगी तो ये खुद ही सीधा हो जाएगा. Like they expect the woman to come in and groom the son, ठीक है? And तो basically वो औरत पे already pressure डाल रही होती है कि अब उस बेटे को groom करेगी. लेकिन वो जब साथ-साथ groom कर रही होती है, they're not having a girl, they're not having their son
because
changing.
When I noticed, like we were talking about the aunties preparing their girls, because girls are constantly being groomed. But women Kids के men to in our culture really have any parental responsibility in terms of nurturing
Mm,
or
mm,
grooming, right?
mm.
They're the
They learn
providers.
their shit on the streets.
Yeah, also they're the provider. That's not their role. That's not considered their role in our
Yeah,
culture, which is big problem. I think
yeah,
that's a major problem.
yeah.
But women are, right, and then when mothers don't put the same kind of grooming responsibility on, they groom them in very weird ways. बच्चे
Mm,
लड़के रोते नहीं है ये
mm,
वगैरह
mm,
bullshit like
mm,
that. So they don't really groom them in the sense कि उनको लड़कों को खाना गर्म करना भी नहीं आता.
mm, mm,
Seriously. Although I feel like this isn't true for me,
mm,
so I feel like that's probably not true for a lot of people, but it tends to be like that.
mm.
वो like वो
Regular household. The
हाँ
common
regular
narrative
household,
is this.
हाँ regular nuclear family के अंदर
Mm,
that tends to be how it is.
mm,
But जो है लड़कियों को इतना प्रेशर करता है, I feel like that their assumption also is कि उन्होंने अपनी बेटियों को इस तरह प्रिपेयर किया हुआ है, तो जो घर आ रही है वो भी उसी तरह होगी, and they want कि वो जो भी अपना मतलब वो भूल जाए वो जो भी है, वो जहां
mm,
से भी आई है वगैरह वो सब कुछ भूल जाए, बस हमारे प्रिंसिपल पे हम जैसे वक्त उठते हैं वो उस वक्त उठे. There's no
mm,
concept of this new human being coming in.
mm.
Essentially, is what I'm trying to say. There's no idea of compromise here. Everything जैसे हम करते हैं बस वो उसी में
बेसिकली जो चीजें जो उनको करनी थी वो उन्होंने नहीं की. उन्होंने अपनी बेटी को ग्रूम किया, बेटी को दे दिया. अब ये आके मेरी बेटी को ग्रूम करेगी, लेकिन ये मेरी बेटी को ग्रूम क्यों कर दिया, ये उसने खाने क्यों बना रही है, ये वो खाने क्यों नहीं बनाती जो मैं बनाती हूँ, इवन तो शायद बेटी को आपका खाना पसंद भी नहीं है. एंड देन ये बस है कि मेरे बेटे को मेरा खाना नहीं पसंद, मेरी बेटी को तुम वो बना के दो, तुम वो बनाती हो, तो आप जाके बताती है कि तुम इस तरह क्यों बना रही हो, इसको इस तरह करके बनाओ. देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ शिट गर्ल. और बेटी को पत्नी क्या ग्रूम किया होता है, बहू से क्या एक्सपेक्टेशन होती है. And the same, then they're fighting with, they're talking the same shit about their daughter and about their daughter's mother-in-law,
mother-in-law, yeah.
what they're doing to their daughter-in-law. There's a
But
lot
where
of
do you think the clash? Where do you think are the common points of like clash and like the antagonizing points usually
of the
with the
mother-in-law.
mother-in-law daughter-in-law relationship, like stereotypically? एक तो I feel like crying is a big thing, ना? बच्चे नहीं पैदा
Hmm.
हुए, like well, a lot of mothers know कि like have they started having sex or not. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah,
They know, they
yeah.
try to investigate. It's so weird,
No,
but they know.
because I guess at the end of the day, उस mother-in-law पे भी pressure होता है ना. The daughter and her, she's still being the matriarch of the house, I guess, is basically where the pressure
Because
is
he's in
coming
charge
from.
of the emotional
The
stability of the household. Yeah.
daughter-in-law has to be a representation of the mother-in-law. So, and obviously, the daughter-in-law is somebody new. So the mother-in-law has to exercise extra force or extra assertiveness or aggression in trying to mold the daughter-in-law now all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Because वो situation वही है basically जो बाकी aunties की भी थी, that she has to now keep things in control. और यहाँ पे there's a point of contention because she's come from a different life, different family, different situation. और वो अब इधर आ गई है, इसलिए तो people worry so much about बिरादरी और किस गांव की है,
Yeah.
इसमें उसमें
So they want the
सुधरते,
values to match in their head.
the
Yeah.
values to match. तो वो shit क्या होता है, क्या वो हमारे संस्कार हमारी संस्कृति समझ पाएगी, like all the time.
Parampara.
परंपरा समझ
Parampara.
पाएगी. हाँ, it has to be a lot of that
I love
because
that. Parampara.
I hate it. मुझे तो trauma होता है इस word से.
Right.
Shut up. So that's what happens with the mother-in-law. Question. I got a question for you. Why are aunties the way they are? Why?
I feel like we kind of went into it a little bit with the whole like in point at certain points we kind of went into it. There's a lot, right? I mean, I feel like we can talk about certain things, like we can talk about individual types of behavior or stereotypes and then explain them. I feel like with the keeping up the image is an important thing. The low
Being an
kya
auntie
kahenge
is a presentation. It
is a
is a
presentation.
presentation.
And I feel like the central focus of an auntie's life, emotional stability is less important, I think, than what the image is. I think that's the saddest part. I feel like they somehow, because of that, I feel like it's cultural. Well, we can talk about why, but I feel like one of the worst things I think about this auntie business is that it tends to place less importance on how people are actually doing rather than कि लोग क्या कहेंगे कि उनकी image क्या है. I think like the most important thing I want to talk about is the image thing. And I think part of it is um, how culture has placed all of the like the responsibility in terms of image, चाहे वो honor है, चाहे वो
Mm-hmm.
respectability है, चाहे वो display of wealth है, चाहे वो क्या होना चाहिए, मतलब even like ideas कि ये खूबसूरत हैं कि नहीं, like you know you judge कि
Mm-hmm.
like it's funny, मतलब खूबसूरत है कि नहीं are based on the women. Like it's funny, like that when talking about शादी and के रिश्ते जब करते हैं ना, तो अक्सर I feel like you know this is funny why वो जो जमादार वाली बात हो रही थी कि वो सबसे खूबसूरत
Mm-hmm.
लड़की को पिक किया, चाहे उनका बेटा जो, क्योंकि I think it's a very stupid but it's a very common idea in Pakistan कि बच्चे जो पैदा होंगे वो अपनी माँ पे जाएंगे, like वो जो मतलब mother, the girl coming in, her looks will
Mm-hmm.
determine how the kids are, not the son. So
That's
that's
actually
why
not true.
that's not true. Obviously, it's not
Uh,
true.
uh,
Because it's like 50% genes,
mm,
regardless. But like, if that's a no, but even like when they're finding rishtas for their own daughters, that's why it's not as much of a concern. Obviously, basically economically, like they obviously consider they're more concerned with finances
yeah.
anyway, because वो
Mm,
responsibility male पे आती है traditionally.
mm,
But like generally this just not thought of कि जो है कि the man's look has anything to do with their kids.
mm.
And अक्सर लोग कहते भी है ना, बल्कि मतलब कि लड़कियां खास तौर पे उनके बारे में कि उसकी माँ तो इतनी खूबसूरत थी, you know. हाँ, ये नहीं देखा कि बाप कैसा था, बाप जैसे मतलब बाप might be like you know
I
hunchback of
feel
Notre Dame.
हाँ जिस तरह हमने वो डिस्कस किया था we talked about the presentation and the looks of things like वो हम बात करते हैं ना the aunties are basically the culmination and the representation
Yeah,
of all things जैसे when we even say कि अच्छा लोग क्या कहेंगे that
yeah,
तो basically ये तो ना कि आंटियां क्या बैठ के बात कर रही हैं basically
yeah.
because in terms of matters of like in terms of home matters कि कौन सी किससे शादी हो रही है it has a lot to do with what are the aunties talking about this girl and what are the aunties saying about this girl
But
right
I have to say कि this is something that I heard from aunties actually कि औरतें जो बात करती है ना वो that's actually less damaging. जब आदमी बात करते हैं this
hmm.
gossip thing, जब आदमी
Hmm.
आप पे जब आदमी like इस तरह की, that's far more damaging and then like that's far more toxic in reality, because जब आदमियों तक बात पहुंचती है कि like whatever like any morals that they might
Hmm.
consider have been transgressed over anything,
Hmm.
then it tends to get into the dangerous zone.
हाँ but the
And I
thing
have to
is
say कि the root, sorry,
go ahead
कि मैं
sorry the
दूसरी बात
root
करने वाला था, दूसरी
go
बात
ahead
करने, अच्छा, so I was gonna say कि I don't know obviously there's different cultural influences into this idea of why women are completely associated and why do they have the responsibility of image, right? But
hmm.
one of the reasons is कि I don't know about Islamic culture, but in the Indian subcontinent, Lakshmi का जो idea है ना,
Hmm.
Lakshmi औरत है. Lakshmi is a representation of prosperity and
Hmm.
beauty and all the image, everything related to image is
Hmm.
it's a feminine
Hmm.
consideration, right?
Hmm.
And this is this connection of the idea that when you bring in when women are good at these kinds of image related functions in the
Hmm.
family, it
Hmm.
tends to lead to prosperity. So there's
Hmm.
this idea based around this Hindu, mythological concept.
Hmm.
बाद में I think see with the colonial influence, the this idea of was taken further because like with display of wealth and the मतलब कि because obviously royalty did not exist.
Hmm.
With royalty, you had like obviously male royal people also displayed wealth, right? But with democracy and things like the Industrial Revolution and like professions that men that were higher paid tended to involve the male uniform of a suit, right?
Hmm.
That meant कि जो उनकी जो wealth थी that could only be displayed through women.
Yeah.
So like it has this capitalist element to it plus this Indian element to it also.
Oh, that's a little okay. So, guys, that was a little blast from the past with our girl. She gave us all the context. So, we're talking about basically the presentation of auntie and the image making thing is
Hmm.
basically what causes all this
Yeah, I mean,
conflict.
I'm just trying to say that there's a lot of cultural context to why aunties behave this way and why they have a lot of
Yeah.
pressure on them, is what I'm trying to
They
say.
do, they do. Like when we discussed, like we discussed from the top also, when we talked about wedding, funeral, the whole shopping thing. It's obviously the
Mm.
preparation for the image and like husband कैसा लग रहा है, that's also her responsibility. बेटी कैसी लग रही है, that's also her responsibility. A lot of it comes back to her. And when you spend your whole life, ever since you've gotten married, you have this responsibility of this other man also, then the kids also, then the house also. घर में कैसा है इसका, खाना इसका कैसा है, इसका मियाँ कैसा तैयार हुआ है, बच्चे कैसे. Constantly you're having to deal with the image of creating a family. And I've noticed this is in front of a lot of for a lot of and this goes through all socioeconomic classes also. मैंने देखा है a lot of women, especially housewives जिनका, or homemakers you could say, they're so pressed about it ना, कि जब होता है ना कि सब ज्यादा प्रेशर भी basically the men are putting the pressure in a different way, but जो बच्चों पे जो प्रेशर आ रहा था ना, वो माओ से ज्यादा आ रहा था कि बच्चे का हेयर कट कैसा है, बच्चे के कपड़े कैसे हैं, आर द किड्स फाइटिंग, आर दे नॉट फाइटिंग, उसकी उससे बात हो गई नहीं हो गई. You will notice a lot of aunties controlling their kid, the siblings relationships के, especially when they grow up. अच्छा तुमने उसको विश कर दिया कि नहीं कर दिया, उसको केक भिजवा दिया कि नहीं भिजवा दिया. It's a lot of like, the control is कि,
Yeah.
every relationship, every presentation of that relationship needs to be perfect because it reflects badly on them. And when they go to the kitty party, and when they go to the shadi and everything, that it all depends on what the
Also, I feel like the responsibility of emotional upbringing, emotional stability is completely, it's
Mm,
maternal, right?
mm,
The idea is that there's a completely maternal responsibility. And even, I don't know about other families, but I felt like in my family, even like ideas of strictness were based around like, but they were mostly my mother's responsibility. If
yeah,
padhai karni hai, was a
yeah.
mother's responsibility. The dad's responsibility is to spoil kids.
Mm,
It's just funny, na? So
mm,
that's why aunties is tarah ban bhi jati hain. I think like
mm,
it's the policing. I feel like it enforces this policing in them. Like you have to police behavior, because I feel like when it gets, that's what I said before also. Because then when it gets to the dad, they don't know how to process those things basically. And when they
mm.
जब unke पर responsibility आती है, they turns violent, it turns dangerous.
It's a lot of
Uh, uh,
action.
so so there's this pressure on these women कि if we again मेरे हाथ से निकल गई बात, and if I'm not able to police this means
Yeah,
कि it's gonna go into this in
it's
a
gonna
male
go south.
and it's gonna be too, they're afraid of the consequences, and that not just for
Yeah,
them obviously, for everybody involved, because it's their
yeah.
supposedly it's their responsibility. And I think that's problematic, because well, it's like it's creating this cycle basically.
Hmm.
वही सास बहू का भी वो जो सारा मसला है ना, it's like the cycle basically, this is what's contributing to it, because I think वो जितने भी घर में लोग रहते हैं, especially in today's world, where like when family structures are changing, and things like the financial involvement of people in the family is changing, and it should be changing,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
उसके अंदर ये रूल्स अभी भी अप्लाई करते हैं जो maybe that were required for stability in a very different time, right? I'm not arguing
Hmm.
कि वो तब भी सही थे या वो अब सही है या नहीं, लेकिन आजकल तो they make no sense. Like
Yeah,
lots of women work, right? It
yeah.
doesn't make sense कि सारी responsibility जो है it's like with the emotional responsibility सारी वो लड़की पे ही आए.
And there's a
आप सास से आपने अपने बेटे की भी शादी की ना, उसका भी उतनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, what I'm trying to say. उसके भी
hmm.
आपको, you should have brought him up in the same way कि वो they can be compromised, they can lead to a more positive relationship. The family will be more stable in today's world, I think, when boys are groomed in that way.
And पाकिस्तान में तो कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ फेमिनिटी भी इज बेसिकली आंटीइज्म ना, कि कोई औरत
Yeah.
अगर आंटी होगी तो वो औरत होगी बेसिकली. Like, you have to fall into this category of the kitty party going, the wedding attending, the funeral attending, the सब्जी खरीदने वाली, the रिश्ते कराने वाली. अगर आप औरत हैं तो आप औरत हैं. The working woman is not really seen as the feminine woman. A representation of, like the kind of woman that you have to be is this kind of a woman. You have to take on this responsibility, you have to fill that mode, and you have to take on this responsibility.
Yeah.
And I feel that's really unfair on women. So you can't really, when they're doing these things, you have to, obviously it took me a while, but like it's easy to hate on the auntie also now. Like
Mm.
it's very easy to hate on them, but when you actually go deeper into the thing कि उन पे कितना pressure होता है at all times,
Yeah.
and the kind of lives they've lived, like we said,
Yeah.
उन्होंने क्या pressures देखे when they got married and when they had to all of a sudden be in charge of so many things. अभी भी even in this day and age when I see someone in my family, a woman in my family have to iron her husband's pants and the husband is upset कि मेरी pants क्यों नहीं इस्त्री हुई हैं. It's just like literally that's what she has to do. She has to iron your fucking pants. And this concept of कि the औरत has to wake up if she's a housewife for example, ठीक है, or if she's a homemaker. Why does she have to get up at 6:30 and wake you up and iron your clothes and everything? फलाना
वो
फलाना.
होम मेकर ना भी हो तो करना पड़ता है. What are you talking about?
हाँ, homemaker ना भी हो
I mean,
चाहे.
I was growing up, my mom had to do this, but like my dad used to wake up way later.
वो मैं कह रहा हूँ that they have to also take this responsibility on as well.
Hmm.
So
I
it's
think
very
one
unfair.
important thing that we should also mention is that like we're talking about this pressure that comes from like this cultural pressure, right? That's one thing, not one thing. But the other thing is also like, aunties have this toxicity, I think, because of the lives that they live because of male influence and like देखो, I think men in Pakistan today, especially, I don't know about the past, but with globalization and with lots of other influences and lots of power that's come in and the things changing, there's a lot of freedom for them.
Mm.
Like talking, like matlab they in different ways, and they're empowered in a sense.
Mm.
This, I think, the auntie culture is really pushed by this force because these women उनको वो disempower करना चाहते हैं, right? These women have a lot of people, these women are in marriages that they're unhappy with,
Mm.
right? उनके husbands are philandering or मतलब
Mm.
that tends to happen a lot. I feel like a lot of these aunties tend to have these horrible husbands who are
Mm.
like philandering, who are cheating, who are doing all sorts of shitty stuff. They might have another wife. ऐसी
Mm.
चीजें होती हैं. They're empowered to do those things, huh? But whether not legally वगैरह, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking
Mm.
legally भी वैसे तो they are legally
Mm.
kind of empowered to do those things. But like, but the society has a lot of acceptance for such behavior. It doesn't have a lot of acceptance for the auntie to break the mold and be something else. You kind of
Mm.
aunties, if you're a woman in Pakistan, most of the time you kind of have to fall into this kind of mold of what it means to be a
करना
woman, right?
पड़ता है.
And to
Mm.
compromise this way and like to be in unhappy marriages and to be, it's very difficult for a woman to break them. And
Mm.
then it leads to toxicity and this negativity, I think, because they lead these kinds of lives that they're
Resentment
unhappy
होती है
with.
ना.
Yeah, and
Mm.
they're not empowered in their life to make any change, right? If they
Mm.
had the ability to break the mold, to be something else, to do something that is beyond what they've seen or what they've been trained to live the image वो maintain करने की उन पे responsibility ना हो वगैरह, so they would not do these things. They would not be toxic. They would not ask. They would not try in your life. Only they're dissatisfied with their life. That's why they're trying in your life, right? There's this thing where men have a lot of extracurricular activities. They have lots of opportunities. Women don't have extracurricular. उनके लिए opportunity kitty party ही है ज़ाहिर है. That is their extracurricular activity.
So last question. You and I are at a certain age, and we don't have to answer this also. You and I are at a certain age where we are seeing some people, you know, grow up. Have you noticed people around you? Do you think that there are people around you who you can clock के चाहिए तो आंटी बन रही
मैं तो खुद को देखती हूँ सोचती मैं आंटी बन गई. Girl, no, girl.
जो करना
This
है
is what
कर
I
लो.
was going to talk about later, but anyway. But I feel, yes, girl, obviously. I told you from the beginning कि कुछ को तो बचपन में 5 साल पे देख के लगता था ये तो आंटी बनेगी. ये तो आंटी है. ठीक है. इसमें वो अभी कीड़े कीड़े कहते हैं ना.
हाँ,
अभी से कीड़ा है वो.
जरासीम है उसमें.
Like you know what I'm talking about, right? Like some people from a very young age,
फसादी.
you can notice that there's something not right here. And so yes, bro, obviously I look at people, um, खास तौर पे शादी जब हो जाती है, I think बच्चे हो जाते हैं, your life changes. So, like those the pressures and everything that we were talking about, they do happen, and
But it's such a strong pressure. You see people change like this. You see women change like this,
yeah.
यार. Private school की पढ़ी हुई, पहले बड़ी बातें की हुई, मैं तो बड़ी ये हूँ, तो revolutionary हूँ, ये वो. ऐसा वो society का pressure आके गिरता है.
You know why? I think it's because of that thing ना कि जब शादी होती है तो वो the mother-in-law and the family forces you to forget who you are, breaks your character down, and you have to fit this mold. There's no idea that the man has to change. That's
Hmm.
kind of why I think. I also have to talk about this thing, like in gay culture, do we have aunties?
नहीं नहीं बिल्कुल नहीं आज
हम तो बिल्कुल
तक
नहीं है वैसे.
नहीं बिल्कुल नहीं है
There's this thing called baji though.
आंटी भी होती हैं ऐसी की तैसी आंटियां भी हैं बाजियां भी हैं सारी की सारी हैं वो एक से बढ़ के एक obviously because this is it's a dynamic na like you see it's basically the
It's very different though. I have to say this quite different.
but I
And
have to
the
say
reasons behind it are quite different.
no but I have to say that obviously like I said the mold of femininity in Pakistan is the auntie so a
Yeah.
lot of gay men do try to emulate that ठीक है I mean not everyone has the exposure of Beyonce or Britney or whatever okay, they try to emulate that they see the woman that they see in over here and they see
Also,
a certain
like
standard
I'm very inspired by aunties, but I feel like it's very inspiring.
they do have a certain level of class
I
and
think
elegance.
also, I don't know if this is true for other aunties, but like a lot big part is as gay men age, and I mean, unfortunately, we can talk about this later, dating and gay culture and everything. I think you lose a lot of value as you grow older. Like you lose a lot of erotic like your sexual capital is lost, right? You're less desirable as you grow old, and you tend to. I feel like you tend to get into that old maiden, old maid kind of zone of things.
For
I feel like the
sure.
sexual disenfranchising is maybe it's true for like other aunties also. Maybe like maybe that's the thing, but like that also tends to lead to this behavior where you are all of a sudden interested in other people's lives
Yes.
and you're all of a sudden very
Yes.
interested in gossip and you're all of a
Yes.
sudden like doing these things of like like the puppet
Judging,
master and judging
judging,
and
controlling.
negativity.
Oh God, yeah, that's definitely a thing in queer culture. Anyway, so that was this episode of Pani Ka Pocha. Very long, very extensive. हमने तो thesis कर लिया literally और literally thesis कर
Huh.
लिया और के
But
ऊपर.
देखो, I knew from the beginning that this is a very rich topic to dissect,
Yeah, yeah. And we
and bring it together.
I think we did a good job. I think we did a good job as usual.
That's it, yeah.
ये तो मुझे लगता है फिनाइल का पोचा था एक्चुअली ये तो
हाँ,
पानी का
फिलहाल
पोचा नहीं था ये
ये
तो
सही
फिनाइल
वाला
का
था, ये
पोचा
सही
था
सही था.
तो लेकिन एट द एंड ऑफ द डे हमें पता तो कुछ है नहीं तो था तो पानी का
हाँ,
ही
हम आंटी थोड़ी हैं.
हम आंटी
Well,
थोड़ी
well,
हैं
well.
anyway I can't see all of our fans and followers
All of the two of you.
all
See
two of
you.
you thanks for listening हाँ hope to see you again soon अच्छा ख्याल रखना अपना ठीक है
Okay, bye.
भाई को सलाम बच्चों को ढेर सारा प्यार दीजिएगा और फिर बाद में बात होती है ठीक है
Okay, ciao, bye bye.
अल्लाह हाफिज